Hello everyone, my name is Heather and welcome to the channel Bookables. Today I'm here to talk about my favorite creature of the night, and that is vampires. I've been wanting to do this forever. I have not, I feel like this video, I still haven't accumulated quite enough vampire books, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it because I want to do it. So if you don't know by now, I love vampires. My fascination with vampires, if you will, began way back in the day when I was a mere 11 years old and I watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer for the first time.
Who are you?
I'm Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, and you are?
Let me tell you, it was magical. It's still one of my favorite shows of all time. I really love the lore of it. I love the acting. I love the characters. Buffy is just everything. From there, my love really grew. Of course, I got introduced to Twilight when I was like 14 or 15. Did I devour those books? Abso-freaking-lutely. And then I think after that, it just kind of was there, if you will. Well, since then, there has been a lot of books that that are vampire books. I've read a lot of ones that I don't love, but I have a fair few, just kind of a smaller stack, if you will, of vampire books that I really truly love. Because if I'm honest with you, if any book has a tagline like for vampire lovers or kind of like Buffy or just vampires in general, I will read it. So here we are. So yeah, let's get into it. I have kind of a wide variety. I have some spooky ones, I have some romantic ones, I have some fantasy ones. Let's dive in.
I know what you are.
Say it.
Vampire.
So the first book I want to talk about is my favorite vampire book. Is it cliche? Probably. I don't even know. And that is Reborn Yesterday by Tessa Bailey. I love this book. So Tessa Bailey is a romance author. I'm sure you may have heard of her. She writes steamy romance books. And I heard about this one a few years ago. It's actually independently published. It was never picked up by a publisher. And I read that it was going to be about vampires. And I was like, freaking yes, Tessa Bailey vampires. And I loved it. This is part of a series, and it's an amazing one. Reborn Yesterday is my favorite, so I'll tell you what this one is about. This one is about a character named Ginny, who is a mortician, and her father and her, who has passed away, own a funeral home, and she kind of is a mortician. So one night she is about to embalm a body, you know how it goes, and it's a beautiful, beautiful man, and then she's about to cut him open, to do whatever morticians do. And he wakes up, and who is it but Jonas? And so they start talking, and Ginny learns that maybe Jonas isn't like other guys. Maybe he's already dead and he's a vampire. But a romance happens. It's super steamy. Just be forewarned about that. If you don't like steamy times with vampires, don't read this. But I ate this junk up. Loved it. My favorite of the series. They have a second one where it's kind of about a vampire and a slayer, which is very reminiscent of Buffy. I did enjoy that one. And the third one's probably my least favorite, but if you just want some good steamy romance, if you just want some good steamy vampire times, highly recommend checking out this series. Next up, we have one that I've read very recently, and that is The Serpent in the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. So I read this one because I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a little bit of a fourth wing hangover, and I heard a lot about this on TikTok, picked it up, it's independently published, was very surprised with how much I loved it, because she a thick one, but man, oh man, I fell in love with it. So this is about a character named Oriah, who is the adopted daughter of the Nightborn King, and he is like head of all the vampires, if you will. And basically, once every, I don't even know how many years, there's this big competition, and it's a big competition for all the vampires, and whoever wins gets like a gift granted by the goddess of night herself, Nixia. And so Oriah, who's a human, is going to participate in this competition. She has been training literally her whole life for it. I feel like I was reading about Buffy. She was like, don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years, So she is very cutthroat, very maniacal. She knows what she is doing, and she is freaking good at it. She is lethal. I think that's probably why I liked it, because it was so reminiscent to Buffy in that regards for me, because it's just a girl living in a world with a bunch of vampires. What you gonna do? But then she meets a vampire named Rain, and they kind of have to form an alliance together. He's a vampire. She doesn't trust him. He doesn't trust her. Steamy times do ensue, but I really, really enjoy this book. This is a part of a duology. I have read the sequel. I did not love the sequel as much, but this one I thoroughly loved. I believe this author has written other vampire books, and if this is part of I think these first 2 books are like the first part of a series, and the next ones are going to be part of different characters, so I might check them out. But I really enjoy Carissa Broadbent's world, her writing, and I would highly recommend checking this one out. Like, I really loved it. So this is one book I can actually thank TikTok for. So thank you. Then we have a thriller, and that is The Southern Book Club Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. This was my first Grady Hendrix books because I read vampires and I was like, I gotta read it. So Grady Hendrix is a horror author that it's very satirical, if you will. It's not like super spooky. It has spooky elements into it, but they're not overtly like, holy crap, this is scary. So this book takes place in Charleston, South Carolina, and it follows this neighborhood. It takes place in the 90s where, you know, these women have this book club, things like that, you know, so they're kind of typical suburban moms. And then one day this man moves into their neighborhood and he's mysterious and he's odd. ... You can guess what's happening. And what goes from there, it says, when children on the other side of town go missing, their deaths written off by local police. Patricia has the reason to believe that James Harris, who is the new neighbor, is more Bundy than Beatnik. But once she and the book club members investigate further, the true monster emerges, and he's far more terrifying than any serial killer they've ever read about. It's creepy. I enjoyed it. It's definitely not my favorite Grady Hendrix books, I will say, but the vampire element into this book is very interesting. Then we have another recent read, and that is My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine. This is another romance vampire book that I really enjoyed. It's a great palate cleanser. In case you don't want a vampire book that's overtly scary, just kind of fun, this one fits the bill on that one. So this book is about a character named Cassie who recently got kicked out of her apartment and she needs another one to live. So she found this ad on Craigslist for this amazing like apartment where she'll be a roommate at, and it's like an amazing place and it's a very good price. Everything's too good to be true, right? Right. And so she meets her roommate. His name is like Frederick Fitzwilliam, and he dresses straight up like he's out of a Regency novel. Like he'll wear a top hat, like a cane, like one of those pocket watches, and he'll like, you know, talk like, you know, my lord, my liege, you know, that kind of thing. And so you can clearly put the dots together. You quickly learn that he's a vampire. Cassie figures out, and we learn that he has been kind of in a vampire coma for like the last century. So he has no clue what's going on in the current world. So he's asking Cassie to kind of help navigate this world, and a romance ensues from there. It was fun. Is this to be taken seriously? Not at all. In fact, the big plot and the big like conflict in it, it made absolutely no sense. Like, it was so stupid, but it was a fun time. I really enjoyed it and would recommend it. I liked it. I had a good time with it. Then we have a YA anthology called Vampires Never Get Old. I read this a few years ago. It was okay. It wasn't my favorite. It's full of like, I want to say 12 different short stories of vampires in them. There are some I really enjoyed. There's some I didn't, but I think if you just want kind of a taste of vampires, maybe check that one out. I'm not sure. We could also talk about the Twilight series, okay? Look, Twilight, I don't know. I read it when I was young, so I will always have a fond memory of it. Was I Team Edward or Team Jacob? 1000% Team Edward, always and forever. Just like I'm 1000% Team Angel, always and forever. I still like Jacob / and also Spike, but that's just my team is my team, okay? But yes, Twilight does have a very fond place in my heart because I read it when I was just like a young girl learning all about vampires, so I enjoy it. Does it make a lot of sense? No, but it is what it is. We can also talk about the first books that kind of read after my whole Buffy and Twilight thing going on. So there was a lot of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer fiction books that you could buy, and I read a lot of them. Your girl would go to the mall and I would go to B. Dalton and Walden Books, RIP, and I would just buy like a new Buffy book and just be the happiest camper ever. I don't remember a lot of them, but I do remember some of my favorites were like Tales from the Slayer, there was The Lost Slayer, and there were some other ones that I really enjoy. And there are now Buffy books being published today. I think there was a new one just come out that's called In This Generation. There was one by Kirsten White called Slayer. So the Buffy love is still going strong, and I will always love that. I don't love the books as much like currently right now, but still, I mean, they're just awesome ones. And then, like, that's all the ones I have. There are some on my TBR that I'm planning to read very soon. A new YA release called The Scarlet Veil just came out. This is from the same world of, I forget what it's called, like Blood and Honey or something like that. I haven't read that series, but this is vampire, so I kind of want to read that. And then I also have Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. I haven't read that yet because it's massive. and I don't know if I should read it, so let me know. So I don't have like a lot of vampire books. There's a lot more that I've read that I just haven't loved, such as Crave by Tracy Wolff. I didn't really love it. From Blood and Ash by Jennifer Elmenchart. I read it, didn't love it. I also have read some of the Black Dagger Brotherhood series by J.L. Ward. It's just not for me. I have read a few of the Sookie Stackhouse books. So yeah, trust me, I've dipped my toes in the vampire world. I'm always looking for more and I can't quite find them. So if you have any recommendations for me, please let me know. But this is just a small sliver of some vampire books that I love that I hope you will love as well. If you have any that you think I would like, please let me know. Like seriously, write them in the comments. But I would love to know some of your favorite vampire books. Like I said, please leave them in the comments below. And I would love to add them to my TBR, endless TBR pile. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.